part of the reason that the biblical passages on women be silent, that they were resurrected, and the household codes were resurrected, was to help keep slavery enforced.
Can Beth and Kristin speak to how patriarchy, and this has just been mentioned only briefly so far, can you speak to how patriarchy hurts people of color?
Oh, Kristin, which one of us wants to go first with that? I mean, they're the same thing. Racism is part of the patriarchal system. It teaches, patriarchy teaches us that some people, simply because of the way they are born, because of their bodies, are better than other people. And this translates very easily from sex differences to color, to race differences, to ethnicities. And so, it's no surprise to me that they go hand in hand. And in fact, we know that with that part of the reason that the biblical passages on women be silent, that they were resurrected, and the household codes were resurrected, was to help keep slavery in force. Yeah, they go exactly together, and they always have.
Yeah, I found too, I set out to write a book about gender, and very quickly I found I was writing a book about race too. Yeah. So the white evangelical, the white in the subtitle is not superfluous. This is what I'm writing about. And this ideal of militant Christian manhood is absolutely a white ideal. My first clue was when I was looking at all these books and looking at who their heroes were. And it was William Wallace, and it was Teddy Roosevelt, and it was Confederate generals, interestingly, General MacArthur as well. And it was John Wayne, right? And then even if we look at John Wayne, on screen, he was the valiant white man, the cowboy fighting the Indians, or fighting, always subduing through violence non-white populations, the Japanese, the Mexicans, the Vietnamese, right? And what I came to see is historically too, this ideal arose during the Cold War era. It arose over against the civil rights movement. Evangelicals mobilized to defend segregation and to defend their private Christian academies. And race just permeates this, and the ideal of militant white protector who will defend faith, family, and nation, right? This is about Christian nationalism too. That is a white masculine ideal. And that's why it dovetails so closely with law and order politics, right? And with this militant conception of the white man enforcing patriarchal authority over not just his family, but the social order as well. So yes, race and gender are always intertwined.
And historians have known this for a long time. We've always had the little, we've talked about this for a long time. So it's funny to me how little some of these historical conversations have made it into broader evangelical culture, which I think is what both Kristin and I are really trying to do here.
The various laws about slaves in the first century, one of the most alarming ones is the unwillingness in Roman law, Greek law, for a male slave to be called a man. Mm-hmm. And this is picked up in the United States. This was picked up in the United States. Yeah. And slaves become 3/5 of a person in order to degrade their status. But the fear of black slave males being men led once again to calling them boys, and this became a degrading status. So, I hadn't thought that much about that connection, and that's where my head went. And so this is a serious conversation.
Sorry, Scott. I was just going to say, I actually had a whole part in my Paul chapter, it was about twice as long as it originally was because I got into race and all of this. And my editor very kindly said, Beth, this is a different book. And so I had to cut, like Kristin, I had to cut all that out. But it's so hard to not talk about patriarchy and not talk about race too.